My children, let me share a story with you about a woman named Margaret Sullivan from Brooklyn, New York. I want you to picture yourself in her journey. Because what I accomplished for her, I am accomplishing for you right now, in this exact moment. Margaret was 53 years old when her life shattered. She had been married to Daniel for 28 years. Together they had created a home in a modest brownstone in Park Slope, raised their daughter Emma there, filled the rooms with laughter, Sunday dinners, and the quiet, everyday love that makes existence holy. Daniel was a kind man, a devoted man. He taught school, came home every day at 5:30, kissed Margaret on the forehead before they ate. Simple, beautiful, enough. Then one Tuesday morning in March, Daniel didn't wake up. A heart attack in his sleep. No signs, no farewell, just gone. I was present, my child. I was there when Margaret reached over and found his hand already cold. I was there when she dialed 911 with a voice that no longer sounded like hers. I was there 3 days after the funeral, when she stood in the kitchen, staring at his coffee mug, still by the sink, and whispered into the emptiness, "Why?" I heard her. Every tear was noted. Every shattered prayer was cradled. But Margaret's story didn't conclude with Daniel's passing. That was merely the start of her desert season, the low place I would guide her through, before revealing the summit I had ready for her. 6 months after Daniel left, Emma vanished. Emma was 26 then, lovely and vibrant, and always fleeing something Margaret couldn't identify. She had been restless her whole life, always seeking beyond the edges of what she knew. After her father's death, that restlessness became recklessness. She stayed out all night, returned with empty eyes. She quit her job at the publishing house. She stopped responding to Margaret's concerns. Then, one morning, Margaret woke to an empty bedroom, and a mother's heart breaking once more. Margaret searched relentlessly. She contacted Emma's friends, drove to old hangouts, filed a missing person report. The police explained Emma was grown. She could choose to go. But a mother never stops being a mother just because a child reaches 18, 26, or 50. The heart doesn't acknowledge age. 3 months went by, then 6, then a year. Emma sent one text, "I'm okay. Don't look for me." That was it. Margaret stopped sleeping soundly. She sat by the window in Emma's former room, gazing at the street, hoping for her daughter's silhouette. She avoided church because she couldn't face the concern, the sympathetic glances. She stopped preparing proper meals. Who was there to cook for? She stopped most things that once made her feel alive. I watched her diminish, my beloved. She went to her nursing job at the hospital where she'd served 30 years, came home to silence, ate over the sink, fell asleep on the couch with the TV on to escape the quiet. Neighbors grew concerned. Her sister phoned daily, but Margaret let calls go to voicemail. Church friends tried visiting. She stopped opening the door. She was sinking in sorrow, shame, and unanswerable questions. "What did I do wrong?" she asked me in the dark. "Why did you take my husband? Why did you allow my daughter to leave? What sort of God are you?" I heard every syllable, my precious one, and I stayed right beside her. It was a Tuesday night, 3 years after Daniel's death, 2 years after Emma disappeared, when Margaret sat on her bedroom floor at 2 a.m., clutching one of Daniel's old shirts, sobbing until she could hardly draw breath. She had reached the lowest point, where you either yield or cease to truly live. That's when she reached for her phone, not to call anyone, not with intention, just searching for anything to ease the emptiness. She opened YouTube, browsing aimlessly. And that's when my Holy Spirit acted. The algorithm, a blend of code and mystery, brought her a video titled, "God Says Your Answer Has Arrived." Margaret nearly swiped past. She had given up on answers. But something halted her. Something she later knew as my prompting. Though then it simply felt like a gentle tug in her spirit. "Watch this." She clicked play, and my child, I began speaking to her through those words. Not with sound, but deeper than ears. I touched the shattered parts no human could reach. I assured her she was seen, cherished, that her suffering had not gone unnoticed. I spoke of Joseph in the kit, of prisons that were really preparation, of the sudden breakthrough after prolonged waiting. Margaret replayed that video 3 times that night. She subscribed to the channel God Tells You. For the first time in years, something moved within her chest. Not full hope yet, not complete faith, but a spark. A fissure in the gloom where light could slip through. She began watching every morning before her shift, every evening before sleep. The messages became like water to someone parched. She started praying again, clumsy, raw prayers. I don't know if you're truly there, but I'm still here. And I was listening, my precious child. Always listening. Gradually change came. She slept a bit more soundly. The heaviness on her chest eased, little by little. She cooked real meals again. She answered her sister's calls. She even returned to church one Sunday, sitting quietly in the back, letting the old hymns flow over her like balm. 6 months after that first video, Margaret did something she hadn't in 3 years. She laughed, truly laughed. A nurse shared a silly joke, and laughter rose from deep inside. For a moment, she recalled what joy tasted like. That's when I began moving more openly. Margaret had a colleague named Robert, a widower who'd lost his wife to cancer 4 years before. They'd known each other casually for years, but as Margaret came back to life, they started sharing coffee breaks, just talking. 2 souls who understood grief, who didn't have to fake being okay. One evening, Robert invited her to dinner. Nothing elaborate, just the Italian spot near the hospital. Margaret nearly refused. It felt disloyal to Daniel, like abandoning hope for Emma. But a soft, patient voice in her spirit, something she was learning to call mine, whispered, "It's all right to live again." She accepted. Dinners became regular. Friendship deepened. Robert was gentle, patient. He didn't push or try to repair her. He simply accompanied her. And slowly Margaret began to trust that her story might not be finished. Perhaps more pages remained. They married 2 years later, in a quiet ceremony at the church where she grew up. It wasn't identical to what she'd shared with Daniel. It wasn't supposed to be, but it was good. It was genuine. It was my gift to a woman who discovered love doesn't expire after one great love. But my child, I wasn't finished with Margaret's story. The finest part was still ahead. One Saturday afternoon in October, 5 years after Emma's single text, Margaret was in her kitchen, in the new home she shared with Robert in Queens, baking apple pie, humming to the radio. Her phone rang. Unknown caller. She almost ignored it, but something prompted her to answer. "Mom." Margaret's hand trembled so violently she had to sit. "Emma." Her daughter's voice sounded older, calmer, but unmistakably hers. "Mom, I'm in Brooklyn, at a coffee shop on 7th Avenue. Can you come, please?" Margaret was in the car within 5 minutes. Robert drove. Her hands shook too much. The drive felt endless, though it was only 20 minutes. She whispered prayers the whole way. Please let this be true. Please let her be safe. Emma sat in a corner booth. She was 31 now, thinner than Margaret remembered, but her eyes held something new. Clarity, healing. They gazed at each other in a moment that felt infinite. Then Emma stood, and Margaret saw the small girl behind her, about 4, with Emma's dark curls and eyes that mirrored Daniel's perfectly. "Mom," Emma said, voice cracking, "this is Grace, your granddaughter. I have so much to tell you." They talked 4 hours in that coffee shop. Emma shared the downward spiral after Daniel's death, drugs, and abusive relationship, hitting bottom in Los Angeles, landing in a shelter. She spoke of discovering her pregnancy and realizing this child was her reason to fight. She described getting sober, seeking help, rebuilding step by step. Then Emma said something that broke Margaret open with tears. "I found this YouTube channel, Mom, about God, about hope. It sounds strange, but those videos, they saved my life. They convinced me I could come home. They made me believe you might still forgive me." The channel was God Tells You, the very one that had begun healing Margaret 3 years before. I had been moving in both of them, my beloved, intertwining their paths in ways neither could perceive, guiding them toward reconciliation. Margaret reached across the table, took her daughter's hands. "There's nothing to forgive," she whispered. "You're here. You're alive. That's enough." Little Grace looked up with Daniel's eyes and asked, "Are you my grandma?" Margaret nodded through streaming tears. "Yes, sweetheart, I'm your grandma." "That was 3 years ago, my precious child. Let me tell you where Margaret is today. She's 61. Her home rings with laughter once more. Emma and Grace live 10 minutes away. They share Sunday dinners. Grace calls her Nana and Robert Papa, teaching them her favorite games. Emma has been sober 8 years. She now works as a counselor, guiding women through the struggles she once faced. She leads a church group for mothers estranged from their children. Margaret still watches God Tells You every morning. She comments occasionally, sharing bits of her story to lift others as she was lifted. She volunteers in a grief support group, holding hands with widows and widowers, assuring them life can surprise you, that my timing differs from yours, that one chapter's close isn't the book's end. Robert and Margaret marked their 4th anniversary last month with a beach trip, walking the shore hand in hand, watching the sunset. Margaret thought of Daniel and knew he'd be glad for her. Love doesn't divide, it multiplies. But here's what I want you to grasp, my beloved. Margaret's story isn't remarkable only for its happy ending. It's remarkable for the middle, the waiting, the wilderness, for breathing when breathing ached, for rising each day when rising seemed meaningless, for seeking help when pride urged isolation. Above all, for inviting me into her agony. She didn't grasp my schedule. She couldn't see my design. Yet she persisted, watching, praying broken prayers, and I met her in every one. Margaret's story isn't singular, my child. It's one strand in the vast tapestry of miracles I weave daily through this channel, through these words of hope. There's James in Texas, a veteran whose war followed him home. PTSD robbed his rest, his happiness, his purpose. His marriage faltered. His children feared his anger. He discovered these videos at 3 a.m. during another sleepless night. My words touched what no therapy could. Today, James leads a veteran support group at church. His wife says he's the man she wed again. His children climb into his lap freely. The breakthrough arrived just as I said it would. There's Linda in Florida, 67, who lost her home, savings, security to a hurricane. She lived in a FEMA trailer 18 months, doubting safety would return. She watched these messages on her phone, her only remaining belonging. I spoke hope into her ruin. Within 2 years she had a better home, but greater still, a testimony that strengthened dozens of other survivors. She became my voice to those in the same storm. There's Michael in Ohio, father of 3, jobless at 55, convinced he was too old to restart. Rejections mounted, savings shrank. Fear swelled, yet he kept watching, believing, claiming the promises spoken here. 6 months later, he launched a business now employing 12. His income doubled, faith tripled. He messages the channel often, grateful I didn't let him quit. And Sarah in Georgia, single mother whose teenage son battled addiction. She prayed 7 years as he spiraled, feeling powerless and heartbroken. These videos taught her to release him to me instead of controlling his path. Today, he's 2 years clean, working, restored. Sarah says only when she stopped trying to rescue him could I act in ways only I can. These are my children, beloved. These are the accounts of those who believed when belief seemed foolish, hoped when hope felt absurd, trusted when trust had been shattered repeatedly. Now I want to say something that will shift how you view everything you face. Are you ready? You are Margaret. Not exactly, of course. Your circumstances differ. Your grief bears different names. Your wounds take different forms, but the core is the same. You're in a season that feels like closure when it's truly preparation. You're in a valley that seems like desertion when it's where I perform my deepest work. I see you, my child. I see the smile you force while your heart fractures. I see you uplifting others while your own spirit feels hollow. I see your midnight prayers when the house is still. I see tears hidden in the shower. I see you pressing forward when you've forgotten why. And I tell you what I told Margaret at her loneliest. I have not forgotten you. Your name is engraved on my hands. Your face is ever before me. Your breakthrough is being shaped even as you read this. Do you know why I shared Margaret's story with you today? So you could witness that restoration is possible, second chances are real, that I still transform mourning to dancing, ashes to beauty, despair to hope. You may be grieving a loved one's loss, watching a child drift away, mourning dead dreams, ended marriage, failing health, collapsed finances. You may have forgotten hope's feel, think faith belongs to others, dread another identical tomorrow. But my beloved, seasons turn, winters pass, seeds buried in earth rise alive in spring. I am the God of resurrection. I specialize in life from death, joy from sorrow, purpose from pain. Let me tell you what I see unfolding now. Within the next 72 hours, a sign will come that I am at work. Perhaps quiet, a call, a conversation, sudden calm. Don't overlook it. That's me reaching through to assure you I'm moving for you. Before sleep tonight, thank me for what I'm about to do. Not just past mercies though they abound, but for the coming breakthrough, the unfolding miracle, the restoration already underway. Within 7 days, clarity will arrive. Something confusing, something that robbed your sleep, something tangled, will simplify. You'll view it from my angle, and peace will rush in. Within 30 days, a concrete answer to a long-standing prayer will appear. It may not match your exact vision, my answers seldom do, but it will be clearly from me, clearly good, clearly proof I am your Father who cares for his own. Now I pause to ask something. This channel, God tells you, exists to deliver hope to souls sinking in despair. If these words touched you, if you sensed my nearness, would you support this ministry? Use the super thanks button below to give what you're able. Your gift helps these messages reach others exactly where Margaret once sat, on a bedroom floor at 2 a.m., wondering if anyone sees their hurt. As you give, you join restoration's work, and blessing will return to you multiplied. But whether you give or not, hear this. I see you. I love you. I'm not finished with your story. Now let's pray together. Don't merely read. Pray these words from your heart's depths. Let them be your declaration, your surrender, your yes to all I desire in your life.